Hello, guys, and welcome back to the third episode of this Python tutorial series. Last episode, we were just talking about variables and different types of variables and strings. And in this one, we're going to be talking about two other different types of variables, which is integers and floats. They are basically the same thing, but with one difference. Integers are just solid numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and floats are decimal numbers 5.5, 10.1, anything like that. And they have a lot of similarities, so I'm gonna just put them in one video, but let's just get started. Let's start talking about first one, which is integers. Var equals, let's just make a variable with 10. That's an integer, and var2 is 1.5. And they have a lot of the same similarities, but you could do any mathematical, concept with them and interchange them. All the only difference is like you could put them in a new variable, for example. If you are adding or doing anything with two integers, it'll be an integer answer. But if you're involving any float, it will obviously turn into a float. And so var3, you go var1 plus var2, print var3. So all it is just it's adding up these two. 11.5. It's pretty simple. You could add, you could subtract, you could multiply and divide. Multiply, you just use a star. Divide, you use a slash, like just like that. And it's obviously into a float. And for power, if you want to do something to the power of something, so let's just do 2 and 10. You could go var1 to the power. You could use star star, which is just two multiplication symbols times and var2. So it should be 100. 100. And you could use star star, or you could use something called pow, and it's just to the power. So you go power of var1, which is the base, which is first one is the base, the second one is the exponent. So you go var2. So 10 to the power 2, it should be the same thing, 100. And that's the mathematical concepts you could do with them, and you could also store them into an answer. And it's that's just how it works. What you could also do is if you have a string and it's 10, right? This is a string and this is an integer. These are two different ones. And you can't add them up. So you go var1, or so you go var3 equals var1 plus var2. It can't work because you can't add a string and an integer. You can't add two different types of variables. So it's going to error. So what do? It's either you change you it depends what you want to do actually. So it's either do you want to change them into strings and leave it like at that, or you want to change both of them into integers. So let's change them into integers first. So we go var1 is 10. So how you want to change it? You just want to go int. You just put it in parentheses. All right, I want this one to be an integer, and I want this one's already an integer, so it's going to stay like that. And if we print var3, it should be 20, right? Because this string is getting changed into an int, an integer, and it's going to be added to a 10. So 10 plus 10, 20. Pretty simple. But let's say we want to do it in strings now. So we want to go var1. Var1 is already a string. Let's just say we want to turn var2 into a string, or into a string, right? So it's an integer. It's going to get changed into a string. It's going to be 10 integer string plus the string of variable 2. And 10 plus 10, what, should it be 20? Let's see. No, it's not. It's 10, 10. See, strings don't work together just like integers. They're not, you can't use math with them. This adding is you're just combining the two strings just like this. You have 10, you have 10, just like that. And so what it added together in string notation is just like 10, 10. You're not adding anything, you're just combining them just like that. So you could use adding for strings or integers, but they have different ways of working. Talk about and just different mathematical concepts that you could do. So let's go x equals 5, y equals 2, just creating integers. And so you could do addition, multiplication, subtraction, division. But with division, it always returns a decimal number if you go x divided by y, for example. Even like 2.5, obviously it's going to be a decimal, but let's say you do 6, it should be 3.0. It's going to return a float number. But let's say we wanted to be like we wanted it to return only the integer and not the decimal. You use two two slashes instead of one. This returns the integer value. It returns it to two, just like that. It always puts it down to the floor. Always brings it out to the bottom, even if it's 2 point. Let's say we have x equals 2.99, and we would say we divide x by one. It will always just come down to two, right? 1.0 or something. Oh, return it back to 2.0, right? And so five, that was return it. That's the floor division. It's called floor division, where you just put two backslashes like that. And there's something called modulus, which is just it returns the remainder of the decimal. So we go x modulus of y. This is just going to return the zero point 0.5 or the 1, because it's going to be 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, right? And this is just the remainder has a remainder of 0.5, but 0.5 times 2 is 1. That's how it really looks at it. It just returns 1. And yeah, that's modulus. There's a bunch of different functions you could do with integer and floats, as I was just like strings. There's different functions. Let's say this is 5.5 and 2.3. You could print. If you want them as integers, you could also go int of x. You could also print the int of y. See what happens here? All it does, it brings it to the floor, even if it's 5.9, 5 and 2. It always brings it to the floor. It never rounds up. That's how ints work. And it's the same thing with the floats, decimals. So we go 5.0 and we go y equals 2. Y equals 2 and 5. We could, instead of int, we could go float. We could go float. So this just converts it just like that. If you have a string, so we go string equals 21. This is in string format. We need it in float or integer format. We could name a new integer. We could have a new variable if you'd like. So we could go z as int equals integer of z. We could go z float, and it's the float of z. And we could print the same, print z int and print z float. So as I'm explaining, you have this variable z string format, so you can see with the quotes. It's also different colors, if that helps. And you want it to be in a number, so you could add and subtract it with other numbers like x and y. So you go like that, 21, 21.0. So that's just how you transfer it from strings to integers to floats. Another thing I want to talk about is absolute values, right? So say you could also work with negative numbers. Let me delete this. So you go x equals -5 and -2. Print ABS of x. Absolute value just turns any negative number positive, and any positive number leaves it positive. 5, just like that. For absolute value of y, just like that. We can print the absolute value of x or of y plus x. So you could do functions in the absolute value, or like just like that. These are S7, but if you didn't do absolute value, it would just be -7, right? Absolute value, negative number positive, positive number positive. Rounding. So let's just say you have 9 and like, I'm trying to think. Let's just say you have like a huge number, right? Divided by 3.3. Print x divided by y. It's going to be this huge number, right? Is with a bunch of decimals. You don't want to see that. It's annoying to see. Let's just make a new value. First of all, let's go answer. Value equals x divided by y. And same thing, if you go answer value, print this, it's going to be that. Let's say we wanted to round it to the first two. So you go round number, and the second part you go comma, how many digits you want to round it to. 1, 2, 3. We want it 2, so you go put 2. Should go 9.7. It rounds it up, and that's how it works. So that's the division, floor division, modulus, integer, float, absolute value, round, and yeah, that's basically it for integers and floats. to think of some other concepts, but no, that's basically it. There's like that. The only thing you have to think about is how you want to change, like, convert from strings and integers and floats, right? Because they have different concepts for adding. But that's basically it for strings and integers. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comments. And the next episode, we're going to be talking about other different types of variables, but I just wanted to keep this episode short and sweet because the one before was a little long. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you.